Hello, YouTubers. Welcome to Level-Headed News. This is your host, Brenda, and this is the third in the trifecta of episodes I have for you this morning. There are 4 articles in this episode, and all the URLs, of course, are in the description of the video for your convenience. There will be a special edition to follow this, but we'll go ahead and get this episode out of the way first. This is the first one's off of Conservative Tribune, and it says Ivanka quits, cuts all ties to Trump Enterprises as husband prepares for White House job. And this is how the article reads. Next to Russian hacking, the Trump family's alleged conflicts of interest have been one of the favored attacks of the left. People who didn't bat an eye about the Clinton Foundation for over a decade suddenly are getting themselves all worked up because Donald Trump built a hotel in Washington, D.C., and diplomats might stay in it. The president-elect has already quit his as head of his business, but that still wasn't enough for the left. Yes, they said, but what about his children? Weren't they still with the organization that bore their father's name? Well, much of that argument just got taken away too. According to a report from CNBC, first daughter Ivanka Trump will resign from any officer or director role she holds with the company and will divest or restructure her investments and holdings. AOL also said that Ivanka Trump would not be taking a job in the White House. Her husband, Jared Kushner, has been tapped for a senior advisor role to her father. That, according to CNN, already had Democrats jumping on the obstructionist bandwagon. There is a strong case to be made that the White House is an agency for purposes of the anti-nepotism statute and that it would apply to bar Mr. Kushner's appointment as White House staff member, Representative John Conyers, Democrat of Michigan, said in a statement released on Monday. Trump attorney Jamie Gorelick, however, said that the White House offices Kushner would be working under were not covered by anti-nepotism laws. We have the better argument, Gorelick said. We are very confident in this position. Yet another piece of proof that the Democrats will stop at nothing to make Trump and his family look bad. It's also proof that the Trumps are exceedingly good at taking the weapons of the left away from them. The next article that I have for you is off of the Washington Post, and it says, gun silencers are hard to buy. Donald Trump Jr. and silencer maker wants to change that. And there is a video that's 3 minutes and 45 seconds long in this, which shows Donald Jr. with what looks to be a rifle with a silencer on the end of it. So that might be an interesting one that you would want to view. It says, the federal government is strictly limited to the sale of firearm silencers for as long as James Bond and big screen gangsters have used them to discreetly shoot enemies between the eyes. Now the gun industry, for which, well, I'll be dogged. Now the gun industry, which for decades has complained about the restrictions, is pursuing new legislation to make silencers easy to buy, and a key backer is Donald Trump Jr., an avid hunter and the oldest son of the president-elect who campaigned as his friend of the gun industry. The legislation stalled in Congress last year, but with Republicans in charge of the House and Senate and the elder Trump moving into the White House, gun rights advocates are excited about its prospects this year. They hope to position the bill the same way this time, not as a Second Amendment issue, but as a public health effort to safeguard the eardrums of the nation's 55 million gun owners. They even named the Hearing Protection Act. It would end treating silencers as the same category as machine guns and grenades, thus eliminating a $200 tax and 9-month approval process. It's about safety, Trump Jr. explained in a September video interview with the founder of the Silencer Company, a Utah silencer manufacturer. It's a health issue, frankly. Violence prevention advocates are outraged that the industry is trying to ease silencer restrictions by linking the issue to the eardrums of gun owners. They argue that the legislation will make it easier for criminals and potential mass shooters to obtain devices to conceal attacks. They want the general public to think it's about hearing aids or something, said Kristen Rand, the legislative director of the Violence Policy Center. It's both a silly and smart way to do it, I guess, but when the general public finds out what's really happening, there will be outrage. The silencer industry and the gun rights groups say critics are vastly overstating the dangers, arguing that Hollywood has created an unrealistic image of silencers, which they prefer to call suppressors. They cite studies showing that silencers reduce the decibel level of a gunshot from a dangerous 165 to about 135, the sound of a jackhammer, and that they are rarely used in crimes. But gun control activists say silencers are getting quieter, particularly in combination with subsonic ammunition, which is less lethal but still damaging. They point to videos on YouTube in which silencers make high-powered rifles have no more sound than a pellet gun, according to one demonstrator showing off a silenced semi-automatic 22 long rifle. Proponents say that's not a good way to judge the sound. You're still going to hear gunfire from far away, said Knox Williams, president of American Suppressor Association. These things are still incredibly loud. Even with the even with the restrictions, silencers have become one of the fastest growing segments of the gun industry, which pushed accessories as gun sales level off. In 2010, there were 285,087 registered silencers. Last year, 902,085. Representative Matt Salmon, an Arizona Republican who regularly shoots with silencers, introduced the Hearing Protection Act in the House in 2015. A companion bill in the Senate was championed by Senator Mike Crapo of Republican of Idaho. Though the bill never made it to committee hearings, it generated tremendous interest, becoming the third most viewed piece of legislation on Congress's website last year. Top was the Democrat-led assault weapon ban of 2015. Salmon is now retired. On Monday, this legislation was introduced in the House by Representative Jeff Duncan, a South Carolina Republican, and Representative John Carter, a Republican from Texas. This legislation is about safety, plain and simple, Duncan said in a statement. I'm very active in sports shooting and hunting, and I can tell you how better off the shooting sports enthusiasts would be if we had easier access to suppressors to help protect our hearing. Hunters also shoot without hearing protection so they can hear the prey moving. Many recreational shooters don't like wearing ear covers, which can be heavy and hot in gun ranges, led to many conversations ending with, I can't hear you. Silencers are also marketed as much have attachments for high-powered rifles, a tactical necessity that reduces recoil, thus improving aim. Quiet guns are easier to shoot, the National Rifle Association says in its American Rifle magazine. Try it. Silencer stigma. Silencers were invented in 1908 by Hiram Piercy Maxim, a graduate of MIT, whose father invented the first fully automatic machine gun. The younger Maxim had a knack for reducing loud noises. He also contributed to the development of the automobile muffler. I've always loved to shoot, but I never thoroughly enjoyed it when I knew that the noise was annoying other people, he said late in life. It occurred to me one day that there was no need for the noise. Why not do away with it and shoot quietly? Maxim solved the problem in the bathtub. He noticed that the water swirled silently down the drain. What if the gases produced from firing a bullet could swirl that way too? So Maxim put what he called a whirling tube on the end of a rifle. It successfully muffled the sound of the gunfire. Soon, the whirling tube was U.S. patent number 958,935, titled Silent Firearm. In 1930s, to curtail gang violence, Congress passed the National Firearms Act, putting restrictions and special taxes on machine guns and other high-powered weapons. Though they hadn't been used frequently in crimes, silencers were included anyway. reportedly out of concern that poachers would use them to steal food during the Great Depression. It's a very strange tale, said Stephen Halbrook, a Virginia gun right attorney who's recently published a law review article about the history of silencers. If you think about it, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration had been around then. They probably would have required people to use these things. Though silencers are now legal in 42 states, industry officials say erroneous and expensive task of buying them keeps gun owners, particularly hunters, from their preferred method of protecting their hearing. They frequently point out that Britain, with some of the strictest gun laws in the world, has no restrictions on silencers for many types of firearms. There isn't this negative stigma because of Hollywood that has suppressed, pun intended, the use of suppressors in this country, said Josh Waldron, the founder of Silencer Company, the Utah manufacturer. Waldron started his company in 2008 after a career in photography, aiming to educate shooters about the benefits of silencers and to essentially hold buyers' hands through the purchasing process. He sells about 18,000 silencers a month. I want to create an environment where people understand the real purpose of these devices and that people aren't using them for nefarious acts, he said. Silencer use in crimes is likely to be the focus of the legislative debate later this year. Gun right proponents and the silencer industry cite a study showing that in California from 1995 to 2005, silencers appeared to be used for criminal purposes only 153 times in federal cases. Suppressed firearms are clearly not the choice of criminals, according to a briefing paper by the National Shooting Sports Foundation, which is based in Newtown, Connecticut, and represents gun manufacturers. The fears and concerns about suppressor ownership and the use are unfounded and have not been seen in over a 100-year history of suppressors. Gun control advocates contend that serious crimes are being committed with silencers on guns. Former police officer Christopher Doran used silencers on an AR-15 and a 9mm handgun during a two-day rampage in Los Angeles in 2013. A serial killer in Vermont used a silencer in the killing of at least one of his 11 victims. And the planner of a disrupted mass shooting targeting a Masonic temple in Milwaukee last year was charged with possessing a silencer in addition to other weapons charges. They wanted these things so they could kill quietly, said Rand of the Violence Police Center, or try that again, Violence Policy Center. The industry wants to make silencers less scary, but they can't. Gun owners such as Trump Jr. can't understand why people like Rand don't get it. In the video, after he's shown shooting several guns with silencers, Trump Jr. says they can help with getting little kids into the game. It's just a great instrument, he said. There's nothing bad about it at all. And there is some links at the bottom of this that you can click on to read more. One's called Loaded Legacy of the University of Texas Tower Shooting. Another's called Damaged Masculinity May Help Explain Columbine and Other Mass Shootings. Another one's called A Marine Fights to Prove He's Innocent of Sexual Misconduct Then Lost Cell Phone is Found. Another one says Bill Dean throws wild Georgetown parties. Now rape is alleged at one. So I don't know what those last two have to do with silencers, but that's what the article says. So there you have that information. The next one is off of Liberty Writers News, and it says Trump has never been happier. The Senate just voted on what to do with Obamacare. Here's how it reads. The process of a repeal of the Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare, has just commenced as the Senate voted 51 to 48 to repeal it on Wednesday. Republican Rand Paul voted no because he did not like the budget that was attached to the bill. However, he claims that he still wants to see it repealed. This is great news. Things seem to be getting better and better by the day, with President-elect Donald Trump taking the White House fairly soon. Democrats, however, are not so pleased about this. And then it says, do you believe Obamacare should be repealed on day one of Trump taking office? If so, prove it by sharing and leaving comments saying repeal Obamacare. So there you have that. And a lot of these articles that I put up for you have comments at the bottom of them too. And some of that's enlightening as well. So you might want to pull those up and take a look at some of those if you're so inclined. The next one is off of Liberty Writers News, and it says, the CIA is scared. Trump just promised the best revenge after their attacks against him. You don't mess with Donald Trump unless you're ready for a freaking war. Now the CIA is seeing what happens when you lie to the world with Trump's new promise for what he will do when he is president. You see, Trump is mad about Russia hack lies and the fact that the CIA is more interested in politics than keeping us safe. Now he has 3 moves for them that will change the game. He will downsize CIA headquarters and office of the Director of National Intelligence. He will also be moving agents to foreign posts and changing the leadership. Anonymous Trump staffer told the Wall Street Journal, the view from the Trump team is the intelligence world has become completely politicized. They all need to be slimmed down. The focus will be on restructuring the agencies and how they interact. This comes just hours after the CIA Director John Brennan said publicly he believes Russia hacked the elections to make Donald Trump president. And there's video of Trump in this if you want to take a look at that. It says, this is all a big load of junk. Donald Trump became president because America is tired of lying elitists like CIA and Obama. Hillary Clinton stood no chance. Let's show them that America is united behind Trump by sharing this all on your Facebook pages. So there you have that. That was the last article in this episode, and I'll have a special edition for you in a little bit. If you like what we're doing, give it a thumbs up, share it on your social media so everybody gets to hear the news. Don't forget to subscribe, and click that little bell beside the subscribe button and check the box so that you get email messages every time I put a show up. That way you'll stay informed on the news. We'll see you in the next one.